Welcome back to D15 today on Wednesday the 1st of March. The time is 25 minutes to 11. Joining me in the studio now I have Jenny Cruz, manager of Baptech. Thanks very much for joining us, Jenny.
No problem, you're very welcome.
So just tell us a little bit about Baptech, the background to it.
Well, Baptech was initially set up, it's a training and education centre and it's a community organisation. It was set up in the late 1990s when all of the IT firms moved out to Blanchardstown and they realised they didn't really find the skill set for the positions that were available. So the Blanchardstown Area Partnership set Baptech up as a kind of a community project, and IBM donated our very first computers second-hand to us. And the board got together and ran a little project, and on the back of that success they registered Baptech as a limited company in its own right then in 1998. So we've been in the community working in this area for 20 years now. We're celebrating 20 years this year, and we're celebrating 10 years in our state-of-the-art purpose-built training centre in the base enterprise in Mulhuddart.
You said you started off with some second-hand computers from IBM and you're now operating in a state-of-the-art complex.
Absolutely.
I'd say it's changed over time a lot.
Yeah, well, we're always trying to reinvent ourselves and improve and build and expand. And last year we were successful with the Pubble Dormant Account Fund. We were awarded €20,000 to refurbish the centre. So all our computers are the latest. Our servers absolutely brand new, and we're working with cloud technology and intranets and online as well, social media.
You mentioned you're celebrating your 20th anniversary or birthday, whichever way you'd like to say it. Technology is obviously changing all over the last 20 years. You must, as an organisation, have to constantly be evolving and developing yourselves in order to teach the people who are doing the courses with you, I'd imagine.
Yeah, if we look at what we had on offer when we first moved into the Base Enterprise Centre, I think we would have had probably a list of maybe 7 or 8 different courses that we offer, and now that reaches into 42 different courses. So we're no longer an IT training centre, which was our original label. We're a training and education centre. So our skill set go all across the board. Our fastest growing area is in personal development. We run positivity workshops. We run a monthly positivity network, and it's a very community-oriented service because it's as much about the social impact as it is about the knowledge that's been imparted. And of course, then we have the whole health and safety sector, which is huge. We do HACCP, Safe Pass, manual handling, all those kind of areas, and of course, social media. That's the biggest kind of growing area. So when we first moved into Base, social media was only up and running. Yeah. So we were the first training centre in Dublin to run certified social media training, and we still offer digital and social media a QQI certified course as well.
You mentioned about how it's all about education and keeping people informed. The courses you do about social media, what kind of age groups do you kind of get people? Do you get younger people or do you get kind of older people? What kind of age demographic would you get?
Well, we get a mixture because sometimes we work specifically with a target group and they might be particularly young, but obviously their skills will be on the highest spectrum. But we teach different sections, so we might teach Facebook specifically for your business. Yeah. So although you might use Facebook or Snapchat as a personal user, how to utilise that as a business promotional marketing material is a different ball game altogether. Then we teach LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is specifically, from our point of view, for job seekers. So we teach people how to update their profile and how to use it as a job searching tool. So that could be right across the spectrum from any age. And then we have Facebook for beginners. So again, that would tend to be maybe 30 plus, that older demographic that aren't as familiar with Facebook, and we try and sort of demystify some of the fears around Facebook and how to set your profile so that you're not worried about the whole world getting your contact details and knowing everything about you. So it's all across the spectrum, really.
You mentioned LinkedIn, and a number of our listeners, or a lot of people out there, will be at the moment unemployed or looking for a job. I guess that's one of the things people, when they're applying for a job, they think that, I know I've heard of people who are recruiters, and they said one of the first things they will do is that they will look at somebody's Facebook page or their online presence. So I guess it's important to inform people that something that they put up online, it's out there, and it doesn't go away, no matter how. If you think you can delete it off your page or your feed, once it's out there, somebody's seen it, and it can be screen grabbed, or it could be someone can take a photo of it. So it's important for people to note that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, your digital footprint is permanent, and I mean that's one of the things we'll be talking about at the Adult Learner Festival. We'll be giving a talk. There'll be a couple of talks on the day. One will be around resilience, you know, for job seekers, when you know how to kind of pick yourself up and dust yourself off and keep going when you're kind of faced with maybe you feel like you're faced with the odds are stacked against you. So that's around personal development. And then the other one is then looking at the hidden job market. So social media, it's definitely one of the most underutilised tools for job seeking, and of course teaching people what their profile should look like, and also how to alter their settings.
Yeah.
So we always say LinkedIn is for your professional profile. It's not for the socialising like social media. And then your Facebook is for your socialising. So if your Facebook is tidy enough that you're not have too many provocative pictures that could land you in trouble, and your LinkedIn profile is presenting you as a professional, that's what employers are looking for. They're not looking to catch you out. They're just looking to get a feel of a personality from you when you apply for a job. So yeah, it's really important to have that profile up to scratch.
How important do you think something like a LinkedIn page is? What feedback do you get, A, from employers, and then B, from people, prospective employees, so somebody going for an interview? What kind of feedback, or did they give you, did they say, they ask me about my career history, or for employers, how important is someone's LinkedIn page, the information that's given out on it, that it's accurate? So what kind of feedback would you get from an employer about that?
Well, I suppose we don't get information directly from employers, because as a training centre we don't deal with the employers directly, but what we do is we access surveys. So there's an amazing resource that surveys employers and the use of employers with LinkedIn. And in Ireland, over 80% of employers look at your LinkedIn profile when you apply for jobs. So that's absolutely huge.
That is huge.
So as regards to how accurate the information is, I suppose that comes down to the reference checking, you know. So if you're actually thinking of taking somebody on, that's when you're looking at accuracy. But you would be comparing what the hard copy CV says as opposed to the LinkedIn profile. And then also sometimes we've had experience of people saying, you know, well, they said on their Facebook, you know, that they're only here for 3 months and then they're heading off to the States and they're looking for a permanent job. So just to match that, though, that they correlate, or if you're saying something like that, it's a hidden post. And also then what we have had is feedback from learners. So one of the social media courses I was running a couple of years ago, it was a 3-morning course, and on the second morning the guy came in and said, listen, I can't continue on the course because I was contacted by an employer through LinkedIn for a particular job. So employers use LinkedIn as a headhunting source. So that was my own experience with it, that people that I work with, he had never used LinkedIn before the course. The Monday he started, he set up his profile. The Wednesday he was contacted, and by the Friday he was in a job.
Wow, so it actually does work that quickly.
Yeah, now it was a specific job. He was a manager of a fast food takeaway, and it was a food chain that were looking for that specific skill, but it just gives you clear evidence that that's how the LinkedIn system works. And also you can job search on it yourself.
Accuracy and providing information is one of the things you mentioned just there. I guess when people are writing a CV, people can be known to kind of fluff up the truth, or can maybe try and make something sound better than it does. Do you give any information or courses about people either compiling a CV or, you know, kind of dusting up a current CV?
Well, on the morning of the Adult Learner Festival, we're offering free life coaching or career coaching, depending on where it is that you're at. You might be looking for some guidance around progression. So I would encourage anybody that has a CV to bring it along on the day, and when they're working with it's a free service, it's a one-to-one offer. So you bring it along, and the person you're working with will go through your CV and give you some pointers. But it's not about presenting incorrect information, but it is about presenting yourself in the best way. So when I work with people, often they would list skills that they have done in a job, or they may forget skills. So I just get them to tell me about their day, talk me through a typical day in your job, and from that then I would list the skills and ask them, would you agree that these are your skill set? And then we word them so that they're presented, I suppose, in a more professional manner. But it's always accurate. We never say something that they're not.
Speaking of CVs, cover letters is kind of one of those awkward things when people are applying for jobs. They're not sure how specific to make something. I guess depending on the job, people are unsure. Do you just kind of look at your CV and just write about what you've done, or I guess a cover letter is more important to be tailored to a particular job that you're applying for, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, cover letters are again one of those things that people really overlook. They kind of have a mandatory, they just have a template that they use over and over again. And as an employer and as a career guidance coach, I can say that this cover letter makes the difference between how long the employer spends scanning that CV.
Yeah.
So if they read something that kind of intrigues them, or they get a feel for the personality, they're going to look that little bit longer to just kind of say, they don't necessarily have exactly what I want, but they sound interesting. I'd like to meet this person. Bring them in. So rather than just kind of having this generic cover letter, try and bring something. There's kind of three parts to a cover letter. There's your introduction, where you see in the advertisement and why you're applying for it. Then I always say the middle section should have a wow factor. So the wow factor should be something about me, my personality, so that I'm going to bring to the job other than all the other applicants, and also something that you know about the company. So anybody can go online now and Google Babtech and go, I want to work for Babtech because. But if you go to the LinkedIn page and look up information about the company, then you will see there's much more information, much more insightful information about targets, about figures, about how they treat their employees, if they've won any awards. So if you use some of that material in your cover letter to say, I see last year you won Employer of the Year award, and I would be delighted to work for a company as innovative as yours. That's the wow factor you need in your cover letter. That's the difference between you getting your CV spent just that little bit more time, and then obviously the main objective is getting that interview. So getting your seat, your bum on a seat at an interview table is really the main objective. So
the cover letter really, it is a significant process or part of applying for a job. One of the things, we've had a couple of recruitment agents on over the last number of months just talking about CVs in particular. One of the tricky parts for people is always trying to bring a part of themselves to a CV, so kind of the interest and hobby section on a CV. How important is that to a potential employer, do you think?
To be honest with you, from an employer's point of view, it's the part that you will look at last. Where you start with is relevant experience, what skill set they're bringing. Then you're looking at preferred skills. So you've asked, we must have ECDL, the preferred skills maybe, they may have payroll. Then you're looking for educational background, and that's just to get a feel of how good they are at finishing things, how dedicated they are. And then really hobbies and personal details are around whether you think you're going to be interviewing them or not, to kind of get a feel for the person. So I would say yes, they are important, but more importantly than that is your cover letter. That's going to be the difference between you getting to the interview table.
To touch on the cover letter again, one of the things that kind of stuck with me the last time we were speaking to a recruitment agency was probably about a month ago, and he was talking to us about how Irish people kind of had this mentality that they're always, not always putting themselves down, but they don't like bigging themselves up. When someone's writing a cover letter, it's important for them to emphasise the skills that they can bring to a job, because I think a lot of times Irish people don't want to say, I don't want to say this because I'm going to come across as some boasting or I'm big-headed, but it is important because it, like you said, it's those skills, that wow factor that you can bring that's going to get your CV read and then get your bum on that seat for the interview.
What you're looking for in that cover letter is hunger. That person is hungry for the job. It's particularly when jobs are tight. I mean, there's a lot more jobs available now, but in the time of the recession where you were getting hundreds of applications, you want to hear that person wants that job, is that bit more hungry for it than the other applicants, and that's what the wow factor is. So wow factor isn't, I've 42 degrees and I've 7 masters and all that kind of stuff. It's not about that, because that's all in your CV. Your CV is a factual document. It's a chronological order of what you've done through work and through education, and that's what they're facts. The cover letter is you speaking from the heart about why you want to work for this company with a good great understanding, not good, great understanding of what the company is about. So get a feel for the company, the culture of the company. You know, different companies have different cultures. Some companies are very family orientated, some companies are very, you know, target driven. So get a feel for the company, and the best place to get that is on the LinkedIn website, because that's got all the other information that they don't have on their normal website.
And of course, it's always important to know as much information about the company. If you do pass the initial process of your CV being read and you getting the interview process, go on the company's website, go to their about section, find out as much information about them as possible, because there's always going to be every single interview I've always done, they've always said, so tell me about the company, what do you know about it? So as much as you know about them, the better.
And there's nothing, if you're not into social media, you're not into technology, there's nothing to stop you calling into the company, obviously, to check it out in advance. Literally call to the door and have a little tour of the company and get a feel for the company that way. You know, that's always very impressive when you're at an interview and you say, oh yes, when I came over here last week I met the receptionist already, and you know, it's a lovely vibe in the company, and you know, that's very impressive as well.
I think to touch on the point we mentioned earlier about Irish people not wanting to big themselves up, I think there's kind of mentality as well that Irish people don't come across as too keen as well. They don't want to be give across too much of an interest. So I think it's kind of one of those stumbling blocks we're going to have to overcome. So
I suppose that's why the career coaching can be great. You know, we in BAPTech, that's one of our newer services, life coaching and career coaching. And also then to say, on the day of the Adult Learner Festival, we'll be offering that support totally free of charge. So normally people would have to pay an hourly rate for that. And anybody can come along, they can, young, old, it doesn't matter where they are in their life or their career, and they can just get a taste for what coaching is like. But also they will benefit from the actual session on the day. You know.
So you've mentioned it there an awful lot. The Adult Learning Festival happens on the 8th of March.
Yes.
So tell
coincides with Women's International Day.
Oh, does it?
But it's open to both all genders, I should say.
So there's a little leaflet you have here, a bit of information about it. So there's a possibility of a little laptop to win.
Yeah, well, basically the day kicks off that morning. Terry Mccabe, our founding member, she was very recently retired from the Blanchardstown Area Partnership as the CEO. And she initially, as part of the board and the directors and IBM, got on board and set us up, as I mentioned earlier on, in the late 1990s. So she'll be kicking off the day by cutting the ribbon and opening the official Adult Learner Festival at 10 o'clock that morning. But people are invited to come to the centre for breakfast, for tea, coffee, pastries, orange juice, to just join in the celebration. And then we have a speaker from NUI Maynooth, Dr. Patricia Kettle, and she's a local woman, so she originally lived in Clonee. And she returned to adult education herself. So she'll be talking about the power and joy of adult education, which is the theme of the Ain't Us Adult Learner Festival. And then they'll be handing over to me, and I'll be giving a talk about the, I suppose, the achievements of the learners of BAPTech over the 20 years that we've been in the community and the 10 years that we've been in the actual training centre. Then after that, then we'll have the coaching services on offer. We'll also be running some workshops. And then at lunchtime, so lunch will be provided for anybody who attends the festival, and we will be having a free raffle. So part of the free raffle is a state-of-the-art laptop, Bluetooth speakers, numerous electronic prizes from Bluetooth sets to all sorts of gadgets. And we have hundreds of euros worth of prizes. We've got TGI vouchers for the Blanchardstown Centre, you know. So, and everybody that attends gets a ticket for the free raffle. So I'd say, you know, the chances of you coming away with a prize are really high. And then at 2 o'clock then we have an award ceremony where our students who have just received their QQI awards from levels 3 right up to level 6 will be receiving their certificates on the day as well. So it's just a huge celebration of adult learning. We're also going to be recording the stories of our previous learners, and some of those are just coming in, and they'll be recorded in writing with a view to us creating a book. But we also have video recording and sound recording, and they'll be on a PowerPoint presentation that'll just be looping for the day as well.